Welcome to this webinar on Bug Club Phonics. I'm Nicola Romaine and I'm National Primary Literacy Advisor here at Pearson. I'm joined on the webinar today by my colleagues Lucy Browse and Ellie Dix, and Lucy will be providing you with a fantastic walkthrough very shortly of Bug Club Phonics on our platform, Active Learn Primary, and Ellie is on hand to answer any questions. So if you do have any questions as we go through the webinar, please do pop them in the Q&A, and Ellie will be able to very adequately reply to those questions. So let's get started then. As I said, I am recording this as well. So session overview, we're going to start by having a little look, as I said, at Bug Club Phonics itself. So that's from a kind of pedagogical perspective, what the programme actually is. And then Lucy will provide a walkthrough on Active Learn Primary of Bug Club Phonics itself. And then I will just share some next steps before we finish. As I said, do pop some questions in the chat if you have any as I kind of talk. Okay, so here are some of the key facts that make Bug Club Phonics an absolutely fantastic systematic synthetic phonics programme. So it's a validated SSP, so it meets all of the DFE validation criteria. It's a whole class programme, so that is key to Bug Club Phonics, including catch-up guidance for those children at risk of falling behind. A little bit more about that in a short while. It takes a blended approach to teaching phonics, so it combines digital and print resources. It has fully aligned decodable reading books in both digital and print, so part of that blended approach, with brand new reading practice guidance in the programme as well. A little bit more about that later. It's based on the progression used in the Clackmannanshire study. Some of you may have heard of that study, very, very famous in the world of phonics, which proved that systematic synthetic phonics is the most effective way to teach children to read and to be very effective for the lowest attaining 20%. As I said before, it includes that catch-up intervention guidance that should be used concurrently with the main whole class teaching. And the catch-up guidance itself can be used as an adaptive graduated approach for those children that need the highest tier of intervention. So that's just a quick kind of overview of the programme itself. I've lifted this quote from the reading framework, and we're very, very pleased that the research behind Bug Club Phonics, so that Clackmannanshire study, is referenced in the reading framework itself. And the quote states that there is convincing evidence of the value of systematic synthetic phonics, including the 7-year study by Johnson and Watson undertaken in Clackmannanshire, published in 2005, which has been especially influential in England. And I think that just really, really adds weight to this SSP in particular. Ronan Watson is one of the authors who works closely with us at Pearson to ensure that any sort of updates and changes we make to the programme itself are very much in line with that original Clackmannanshire study. So that's really, really important. So key features of effective phonics practice, and I've pulled this out as well. So this is through the English Hubs programme. And the English Hubs programme have identified 7 key features as characterising phonics teaching in highly successful schools, no matter which validated programme actually is being used. But what I would say is all of these are relevant to Bug Club Phonics. So they are direct teaching in frequent and short bursts, a consistency of approach, secure systematic progression in phonics learning, maintaining a pace of learning, providing repeated practice, application of phonics using matched decodable books, and early identification of children at risk of falling behind linked to the provision of effective keep-up support. So those are the key features of effective phonics practice, and I think it's really good and useful to keep those 7 key features in mind. So, as I mentioned earlier, Book Club Phonics takes a blended approach to teaching, practicing, and applying phonics. It's a comprehensive teaching programme which includes absolutely everything your school needs to teach phonics at reception and Key Stage 1. As you look at that teaching cycle that I have on the slide, you'll notice it's very similar to a traditional letters and sounds session and supports repeated practice. So, that repeated practice that I referenced in those 7 key areas of effective phonics practice. And that repeated practice flows through a cycle of introduce, revise, teach, practice, apply, and assess. And that's the approach, using the range of supportive resources and building on those previously mentioned 7 areas of effective phonics practice. And you can just see there on the slide just a very few of the resources, both digital and print, that support all of the different elements of that teaching and learning cycle. So the pace and planning of the programme itself. So it begins in reception. So we do have some pre-reception work actually. So phase 1 phonics, which prepares children for formal phonics teaching. So there are some elements there of phase 1, which are pulled from letters and sounds phase 1 work. But then in reception, Book Club Phonics teaches a new grapheme and a related phoneme in every phoneme session. It's a fast pace and it's backed up by daily revision, so that repeated practice of past teaching, which has proved to be the most effective and successful method of phonics teaching, as per that Clackmannanshire study that I referenced just a few minutes ago. So this means that the basic 40 plus phonemes are acquired quickly and early reading skills develop rapidly. Decodable readers are introduced after just 2 weeks of teaching at the end of Unit 2. And this enables children to apply the taught strategies and really enjoy contextualised reading early on. So they have that sense of success. The order of the grapheme and of course, the units on Active Learn graphemes, and the units on Active Learn Primary ensure that children are able to start reading and spelling a wide range of words at the earliest possible stage. And then units 13 to 27, which are in year 1 of Book Club Phonics, offer coverage of phase 5 phonic progression. And we have alternative pronunciations of known graphemes for reading, which are covered within the programme at the point of teaching the alternative spellings. We also have phase 6, and phase 6 in Book Club Phonics supports learning by introducing more complex multisyllabic words and morphemes such as prefixes and suffixes. And all of this teaching occurs in the phoneme and language sessions and through practice and application in guided independent work, with the children also covering less common GPCs and phonic irregularities and applying their phonic skills in a wide range of reading and spelling. And that's across that blended approach, so that print and digital approach as well. So, relatively new to the programme, we have termly and weekly plans. So as a nod again to those characteristics of effective phonics teaching, this is really supportive of teacher workload and ensuring that the pace is kept up. So in Book Club Phonics, the termly and weekly plans map each element of new learning to each day, week and term for the duration of the programme. And the programme runs from the beginning of reception, so right from week 1 of reception through year 1 and to the autumn term of year 2. So finishing up at Christmas, so the end of your autumn term of year 2, when children will be assessed. Any children that are still finding difficulty in decoding and they have gaps in their knowledge, then we would suggest that those children continue with the intervention or the catch-up, which is part of Book Club Phonics, or have some additional phonic intervention at that point. So the pace that we have across the termly and weekly plans allows for full coverage of all aspects of the progression in a cumulative way without adding too many elements of new learning at any one time. So that's a nod to the cognitive load of children. It also allows for significant periods of practice, consolidation and revision. So a little bit more about that then. So we have put moments in the termly plans to allow for that practice, consolidation and revision. So beginning with teach, so teaching weeks allow for the class-wide instruction of new material, so that whole class element. And this content is broken down by unit, as I suggested earlier, with some units being split across multiple weeks of instruction. So depending on what that content GPC-wise is in those units. Each unit is then broken down into individual phoneme-based lesson plans that teach GPCs through digital lessons. And these units each conclude with a language session, which includes teaching of associated tricky words and high frequency words. So this is for consolidation, really. And then we have corresponding weekly plans, which include editable lesson breakdowns, which you can download and self-print. And in that, as I mentioned, in the termly plan, you do have those moments as well for revise and consolidate and assess. So that's all built in. In addition to the daily teaching sessions, so that teaching cycle, the whole class teaching, children need to be given regular opportunities to practice sounding and blending words in a meaningful context. So we recommend scheduling in-class reading practice sessions with children at least 3 times a week. We have, this is relatively new as well, reading practice guidance as part of your subscription, as part of the programme. So that 3 reads, the first session being about decoding, the second session is comprehension, and the third session is comprehension, including speedy reading and some prosody as well, to support expression. Couldn't find my words there, sorry. So that's to support expression, and the 3 reads obviously support fluency as well. So daily practice sessions are also encouraged for children who need that additional support. So we would recommend having reading practice guide sessions, for groups of children who are on a similar level. Most of the children will be reading books that are aligned to the class teaching, the GPCs that you have been teaching in the class. Some children in some groups obviously will need to consolidate GPCs from further back. And then in addition to that, any children who need that additional support, we would recommend that they have reading practice sessions as one-to-one with available adults in the class. The inside covers of each Book Club Phonics decodable reader also contains everything needed to run a successful reading practice session. So you've got the guidance, and you've also got that guidance within the cover notes of the books. And each book supplies easy to follow support material as well, which helps to add structure to those sessions. Our decodable reading books. So we do have the core Book Club Phonics decodable reading books as part of the Book Club Phonics programme itself, and they cover phases 1 to 5, starting of course with the wordless books. But we've also got our Book Club Independent strand, and these are also 100% decodable, phases 1 to 5, and completely in line with the Book Club Phonics progression as well. So you may want to consider adding those to your collection of decodable reading books in order to add breadth to your reading offer in that respect with decodables. The books can be allocated for home reading, either in print or digital, as I said before. It is a blended approach to teaching phonics, and of course, books should be matched to secure phonic knowledge. So for most children, this will be the GPCs taught in the class, as I said. For some, it will be GPCs lagging behind for consolidation. And your own context should really guide you here. Then we have assessment trackers. So the Book Club Phonics assessment trackers allow teachers to track both individual and class-wide progress. These assessment trackers are available for reception, I should say, and Key Stage 1, and they correspond directly to the Book Club Phonics summative assessments. We've also got a schedule of assessment in the pace and planning section of Active Learn Primary, as well as embedded within the teaching and assessment guides as well. And the termly planning documents also provide an indication as to advisable times to administer those assessments. You will find that there is an opportunity to assess what's been taught at half-termly intervals as well. And that can be output will be inputted into the tracker. And that's just an overview there of what the tracker looks like. It is each assessment is listed on the schedule of assessment, has its own tab in the assessment tracker. You mark a Y for yes or an N for no, and an entry is made to record a correct or incorrect response to each assessment question. And then this brings up a colour banding. So a child, based on their assessment results, will be banded as to green, which is expected level, amber, which is those children that need a bit of additional support through your catch-up guidance, and the children that are flagged as red are the children that are in need of the most support, that one-to-one intervention or catch-up. And this allows to give a broader picture of progress over time as well. And then that catch-up guidance, in effective schools, obviously high expectations drive the pace of learning and success built for all children by identifying those having difficulty very early on. And we're very mindful of this. Those children are provided with sufficient additional support to help them keep up. And this is where the Bug Club Phonics catch-up guidance comes in. This is to be run concurrently with the whole class teaching. You will identify those children that need different levels of support through the tracker. And in the Bug Club Phonics catch-up guidance, you will see clear guidance as to what intervention to run with children that fall into those different colour bands of progress. So as I said, they should run concurrently with the whole class session, one-to-one or small groups, depending on the children's needs. And short, sharp bursts, as we know, is always best with intervention. And we would say that you should run these for 2 to 3 weeks before reassessing the children, inputting in the tracker and seeing how the children are progressing. That's just a slide there on the summative assessment and the formative assessment that occurs in Bug Club Phonics. When we send you the recording, please do have a closer look at that slide. That's just an overview there of those colour bands that I talked about that are in the catch-up guidance. So you've got the green, which is expected, a mastery. Mastery has been children have succeeded in mastery. Amber is that catch-up small group, and the red are those one-to-one interventions there. We've also got integrated professional development and parental engagement as part of Bug Club Phonics, and you will find this on Active Learn Primary. And Lucy, when she provides the walkthrough in a minute, will show you that as well. We've also got classroom resources. So you've seen a little bit around the digital resources that we've got. We've also got classroom resources in print. I'd just like to draw your attention actually to the word cards there that you can see. Some of the word cards, or we have versions of word cards with sound buttons on them and versions without sound buttons. So they're really super useful for intervention as well and to support children in their blending. I'm now going to hand over to you, Lucy. Sorry about the slightly rushed approach there for your walkthrough on Active Learn Primary.
Brilliant. Thanks, Nicola. That was great. Let me just share my screen. Won't be a moment. So this is Active Learn Primary, where Bug Club Phonics is housed. You'll find it within the Bug Club tile. So let me click on that. What we'll do, we'll look at phonics in planning, phonics in resources, and also the classroom support area, where you'll find a wealth of further resources to support what you're doing. But without further ado, let's have a look at phonics in planning. So I just click on the tile. This brings up the top level of planning guidance. If we go down here, basically you've got your 2 teaching and assessment guides. So these are really useful to get you started. They walk through the progression. They talk about classroom management and all those kind of things. There's one for reception and one for Key Stage 1. Now, Nicola touched on those place and planning documents. This is where you'll find them. So there's weekly planning, reception and Key Stage 1, termly planning, reception and Key Stage 1, and also the reading practice guidance that she showed and the schedule of assessment. So each of these, like she said, you can print out and use as you want to get the most out of your lessons. There are the assessment trackers. So there's your user guide just here. And you've got one for reception and one for Key Stage 1, sorry. And they're basically Excel documents that you fill out. They're really easy to use, but they just really help you track how your children are doing. And then that all-important catch-up guidance, which is found in this tier here. So there are assessment skills and catch-up activities, and also an exercise bank as well with extra catch-up activities in there. As we scroll down, we come to some resource cards and word cards, but I'll keep scrolling until I come to the assessment sheets. So everything in Active Learn Primary is basically designed to be really quick and easy for you to access. So this is where you find all your assessment sheets that you can just click on and print out, ready for your children to have. And we've also got the actions for sound videos at the bottom here as well, which is it can be used primarily as a teacher-facing resource. It's a video to demonstrate the mnemonic action for each GPC, so you can have a look at those as well. Let me just scroll back up. And then what you can do is navigate. So if you're a reception teacher or year one, you just navigate this way. You've got phase one at the top, but what I'll do, I'll focus in on, let me think, phase two. So you've got assessing before starting. So these are the competencies and teaching solutions that you'll be looking at. So have experience of activities to develop phonological awareness, for example, and then you've got some teaching solutions around those. So you can get to grips with those right from the get-go, before you even start teaching. But what I'll do, I'll click on Unit 3, and we'll go into this top one here. Now, this basically is everything that you need to teach and deliver your lesson, and also the follow-on activities as well. So you can just navigate to whichever one you're looking for, but it's got at the top here the introduction, where you play the alphabet song. So the children soon get used to that, and will be joining in and singing along with that in no time at all. You've got your learning intentions, which you would recap. So say the phoneme, find the letter, read words with the letter in it, spell words with it, and write the letter as well. You then have this here, everything that's blue and underlined is hyperlinked. So that will open up a revision screen for you that you can display on your whiteboards. They're basically designed to be delivered, as Nicola said, at quite a brisk pace. So you can watch out for any children who might not have remembered the phonemes or the graphemes that were last taught. And then you've got your resources to support them in catching up. And this bit here is the actual lesson. So within the lesson, you have your sounds, visual search, reading, spelling, and writing. And this really easily talks you through how you could run that actual lesson. So your visual search, for example, you'd bring up words from the asset bank, etc. But what I want to do is quickly open up a lesson just to show you what that looks like on the whiteboard. I think I'm okay for time to do that. So I'll just quickly open one up. Can you see that okay? Ellie, can you give me a thumb? Brilliant.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so you basically would play the video. This little arrow here will play the video for you. And then you move through into the lesson itself. So your reading part, you can show and go through to the next words and blend them using the little arrows at the bottom. Spelling, and remember, you'd be using your lesson plan down the side here. So the spelling part, the reading, the children are up and being involved. This part you would select. Let me just see if I can select. Oh, it's not letting me. Picture. Let me show gap, and then I can just drag and drop the letters into the box like so, and click on that.
Well done!
And then I get a little positive affirmation from my bug friend to confirm that I've done that correctly. So that's great. And then you have your writing part. And again, you can show.
G. Start in the middle, go all the way round, down below the bottom line, and make a tail.
There we go. So you've got that. So you'd be encouraging your children to carry out different writing activities. So they might be skywriting at one point, making marks on their papers and so on. And then for follow-up, this is where you've got all these little tabs at the side. So it's well worth getting used to those. But you've got one that you'll be using quite often, which is your asset bank. And that includes all of the words and pictures that are being encountered during that lesson, so you can display those on the whiteboard. If you need any assistance as you're going through, you've got your guide at the top here. So that will tell you exactly how you carry out the activity. So you've got that as a little aid memoir or prompt as you're going through as well. Let me close that down. Yes, I do want to exit. You then move into wrap up, which includes playing the alphabet song. And then those all important next steps. As Nicola said, consolidation is really important. And this comes in many forms in Bug Club Phonics. You've got some games, which you'll find here. So there's a game to practice sounds, names, reading, spelling, and language. And you've also got these books that the children can read. So to allocate them out, so presuming your children are already set up with usernames and passwords, you can just click the ones that you want to allocate. Go to allocate becomes live. I click on allocate here. Let me just go to my year 1 class. I can select all by putting a tick at the top, or select the ones that I'm most interested in by putting a tick and the ones that I want to allocate to, and then just go to allocate at the bottom. If you wanted to have a look at a book, so if we just quickly go to Pam Sits In, I can just open it that way. So you can have them displayed front of class, you can read them together. There's lots of different interactive ways that you can use these activities. And then you've also on this side got the photocopyable. So there's a handwriting guide and a resource card for that phoneme as well. While I'm here, what I'll quickly show you is you've also got at the bottom of phase 6, your all phases assessment. And this includes mock tests that include real words and pseudo words. So you can enable the children to practice and get their skills ready for the SATS tests as well. But let me move back on and go to home through the Bug Club tile. I'll just quickly show you how you access those in resources. So if I click on the phonics tile here, you can search by book band, which will bring back the books, or phonic phase, which I find probably the most useful way. And then you can just select your set. And then at the bottom here, by type, you've got your book, interactive games, photocopyables, the pupil games, teaching cards, teaching screen, and videos, etc. So you've got everything that you need all in one place. So the videos, for example, will bring back those action for sound videos. If I click on book, I've got the books that I could allocate out to the children. So you can see there's a really beautiful range of fiction and non-fiction titles for the children to find very engaging. But the last part I want to show you, if I go to home, through the Bug Club tile, this time I'll just focus in on classroom support area. And this is where, if you click on Bug Club Phonics, you find a wealth of information. There's a really useful getting started guide for any new teachers that you might have joining you. Some frequently asked questions, which will give you some top tips and ideas and information about Bug Club Phonics. So for example, we've got here, you can find a phonics pronunciation guide, which is something that's very useful when starting out, or for parents as well. There are Bug Club Phonics in Action videos. These are, again, they take each part of the lesson and really bring them to life for you. So if you've got, again, someone who's newly getting to grips with Bug Club Phonics, or you wanted to run a bit of a refresh, then these are great videos for you to use to do that. So they run through introduction, revision, sounds and visual search, reading, spelling and writing, etc. Now, Nicola touched on the professional development area. So we've got some paid courses that you can sign up for. But also what we thought was important is that there's professional development for self-delivery. So these are designed to be 1-hour sessions, and they cover phonic knowledge, the essentials, best practice, assessment, phase 1, phonics for parents and carers, which includes a video as well, a presentation for parents, early reading, beyond phonics, phase 4 and intervention. So basically these are self-contained sessions that you can deliver perhaps after school if that works, or during an inset, that kind of thing, but to help people get to grips with the different parts of the lesson and discuss how you're finding the lessons and how you're working together on those as well. In pedagogy, there's more information about that all-important Clapman and Shire study that Nicola mentioned. And we've got classroom goodies. This includes things that you can use to motivate your children. So things like reading award certificates, and what I used to really like, the stickers that you can print out on sticker paper and give to the children to So when they go home, it's always a really nice prompt if they've been reading well, engaging with their work, or there's something that you want to share with a parent. It's quite a nice way of doing that. I know when my children used to come home with a sticker, it was always a really good prompt to find out a bit more about how their day had been, what they've been doing, and all that kind of thing. For parents, you've got things like the Phonics soundboard, a guide to using Bug Club Phonics and games at home, and a welcome letter. So you can really get parents on board if you've got a parents' evening or a session on phonics that you want to run for them. And there's also the case studies in here that you can use, so you can see how other schools are engaging with Bug Club Phonics and share experiences that way as well. So I think that was a bit of a whistle-stop tour. But I'll hand back over to Nicola at this stage. And if you'd like to
Lucy. That's
continue,
great. Thank you. That was a fantastic walkthrough. Thanks ever so much, Lucy. As you can see, we are at time, but as you can see, there is an absolute wealth of content that you get with your subscription. So I can see one of the questions in the Q&A there was about what is included in your subscription. So basically everything, the games and the digital content. The only thing that you have to buy extra for your subscription, the print books. So you get the digital ones, obviously, but the print books and the classroom resources. However, some of the classroom resources you can print off in either colour or black and white from Active Learn Primary. And of course, you've got the word card as well, those cards with the sound buttons and without the sound buttons that are so useful for your intervention as well as part of your subscription, and they're downloadable from Active Learn Primary as well. So that just leaves me to thank you very much for joining us today. Hopefully that will have helped. We will follow up with an email which will include the recording of this webinar, and we will get in touch with you as well to find out if we can support you further with Bug Club Phonics. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.
bye everyone.